I am very pleased to introduce Joe Shapiro, who will moderate the discussion. Joe is a correspondent on the investigations unit at NPR. He's been writing about disability issues since February 1988, when he first went to check out a meeting of a small presidential commission, whose members were writing what became the original version of the ADA. Joe wrote the book, No Pity, People with Disabilities Forging a New Civil Rights Movement, of which I'm a big fan. And I'll turn it over to you now, Joe.
Thank you, Rebecca. So here we are, 25 years later. This is great to be in this room with so many people who made the ADA happen, people who now are making it real. Many of you have been my teachers over the years, and I thank you for that. As Rebecca mentioned, I've been writing about disability issues since that day, February 1988, when somebody called me up and said there's a group, presidential commission, they're coming up, they're drafting something they call the Americans with Disabilities Act. So that was that original version. I went and listened to the meeting. It was the first time I'd heard anyone talk about disability as a civil rights issue. They were saying, this is not a health issue, it's not a medical issue, that what we need are civil rights protections. Being here in the Great Hall today, I find myself thinking of a couple attorneys general. First, Dick Thornburgh, who helped push for the ADA in 1990 and explain why people with disabilities need civil rights protection. I think as Senator Dole mentioned before, he has a son, Peter, with an intellectual disability. And as you may know, Attorney General Thornburgh had a stroke last year, which is a reminder that disability is something that we can all deal with at any moment, and that the things that we do to protect the rights of people with disabilities end up helping all of us. Ginny Thornburgh, by the way, tells me that her husband's doing well, recovering from his stroke, and he's gone back, he's working again. I'm thinking too today of Robert Kennedy and how in 1965, after he left the Justice Department and was a U.S. Senator, he went to visit Willowbrook State School on Staten Island. And he came out and he talked about how shocked he was by what he'd seen inside, seeing children slipping into blankness. And Robert Kennedy that day in 1965 said, "We hear a great deal these days about civil rights. There are no civil liberties for those put in the cells of Willowbrook living amidst brutality." So Kennedy was years ahead of his time, describing disability as a civil rights issue. It'd be another 25 years before the ADA, and not until 1999 would the Supreme Court in the Olmstead decision say that people in institutions had a right to live in their communities, to be integrated in their communities. My father, by the way, was a Justice Department attorney, a career attorney here in the criminal division from the 1940s to the 1970s. And so as a kid, I grew up roaming these halls, watching presidential inaugural parades from the windows. And my dad, Harold Shapiro, shared a birthday with the ADA. So he would have been 103 on Sunday. So I have a sense of the serious and important work that gets done here. And today we're going to talk about some of the work of the attorneys and the staff of the Department of Justice, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and the Access Board. Because without enforcement, a civil rights law is just pretty words and lofty aspirations. So today we're going to have a conversation with the people on the panel, people who face discrimination. We're going to hear their stories, and we'll hear about some of the remedies and the change that came about that ended up helping them, but helping all of us. So let's talk to some of these people who have some great stories, some good stories to tell us. I want to start with Sylvia Glover and her son Caleb, who've come here. You're visiting from Saraland, Alabama. That's what, close to Mobile, or close to the Gulf?
Yes, sir.
Is this your first time in D.C.?
Yes, sir.
Good. And Caleb, how's the trip been? When you go back, what do you go tell people you saw? What's the best thing so far?
The White House.
The White House.
The White House. You told me you want to live in the White House. Yeah, it is cool. So how old are you now? 10 years old. Great. So Sylvia, your story is about another family vacation. Tell us about where you and Caleb and your husband and another foster child went on vacation in the spring of 2007.
My husband had just got out of the hospital. He's suffering from cancer, and so we realized it would be his last vacation. And so we wanted to go and stay at an RV park fairly close to the home. He was still doing radiation treatment at the time. And so we went and we checked in, and I tend to talk too much. And so when I was in the office and we were checking in, the lady that was checking us in, she told me her husband had cancer too. And so then I told her about Caleb and that we were in the process of adopting him and that he was HIV. And I had never been scared about or ashamed to mention that before. They prayed for him at church and stuff. And we went on to the campsite, and then that evening, actually it was her husband came to the campsite and said that we could stay, but Caleb was not welcome to use the swimming pool or the common grounds bathrooms and stuff like that because they were scared of his HIV. And so then my husband said, and really he was not able to leave our children. Our older sons had come and set us up there because he wasn't able to set the camp up. And so after hearing that, though, my husband said that if Caleb wasn't welcome, we wasn't. And so in the very early mornings, the following morning, they allowed us to spend the night. We got up real early, and my husband labored to take down our RV and all that. And we left and went to another park. We had to stop. It was the 4th of July weekend. We had to stop numerous times before we could find a camp that wasn't full. He really wanted to go home. I felt real bad because of my big mouth. We had been thrown out of the park because I talked too much. And so I felt really guilty. And
Sylvia, tell me about that. So you told me you felt you'd done something wrong?
yeah, I felt because of me sharing that Caleb was HIV, that I deemed my husband wasn't able to enjoy this last vacation that we had planned for. We were staying 30 days. And so when we left, we did find another park, not near as nice. The one that we were going to stay at had a train that he was looking forward to riding on, and of course a nice swimming pool that was close. And the next one didn't have all this, but that's what we did. And it wasn't until a couple of days later, I didn't say a word to anybody because I did feel ashamed. And a couple of days later, my daughter called, who is paralyzed from the waist down. So anyway, she called and wanted to know how we was enjoying the RV park, and I told her what happened, and that made her mad, and she spoke up. I probably wouldn't have.
So you say, so why didn't you speak up at the time? Did you try to explain to them why they were wrong about saying that Caleb couldn't use the swimming pool? I
offered them the telephone number of Caleb's doctors. Of course, you could call any hospital and emergency room and talk to a doctor, and they would be more than glad to explain to you that this boy is not in danger of passing anything in a pool or in a bathroom. But they were not interested at all at hearing about that. They just, didn't think that it was right for him to be there. It was a big weekend. They were expecting a lot of people.
Did you think of it as this was discrimination that our family faced?
I told him it was wrong, and but it's hard to believe, but I don't usually speak up. I've gotten better. Anyway, I just felt it was wrong, and when I complained to my daughter, she this is worse than me about talking. She called a newspaper And then that started it, and they were wrong to do that.
Did you know what the Americans with Disabilities Act was at that time?
I did not even think about or know anything about what you would call discrimination. I probably would have noticed it more if it was the black issue. You know, then I didn't think about it as HIV because I didn't view it as any reason to discriminate against anybody.
But had you heard of the ADA?
Probably not, you know.
So when do you think you first heard about it and that it might apply?
In a few weeks, because of the stink that was stirred, the Justice Department called me, and originally and they said something about brain suit, and I go, oh, no, you know, and and so it was probably a couple of months later before I got up enough confidence to go, okay, this wasn't right for Caleb.
And we should say this got some national attention when your
Yes,
daughter called the newspaper. It got some national attention, and some HIV groups came and they actually
They visited the park.
visited the park.
And they learn a few things.
We should also point out that, as you said, your husband was very sick. He'd been in the hospital that spring.
Actually, he left the RV park that we went to and was rehospitalized. We didn't really finish. Within 10 days, he was back in the hospital. You know, so it was hard on Caleb. It was hard on the whole family.
And while we're talking about your husband, so he died the following spring.
Yes.
Well, talk about one of the last things he did before he died.
He was very ill, and there had been a suit brought against the RV park, and they wanted Dick's deposition. And so the Justice Department, in the very last weeks of his, really it was, I think, 5 days before he died, they flew to Alabama, and my husband literally was on his deathbed, and he refused to take any pain medicine or anything because he meant to give that deposition to the Justice Department. They were wonderful. And so that was one of his last conscious efforts he did before he died. And he did, and the only time I seen him cry, because he knew he was able to do something for Caleb that day and for anybody with HIV. And if they'd been a day or so later, I don't think that would have happened. He just couldn't have done it. He cried after the interview, and they put him on narcotics, and basically he lasted just a few more days. But he got that in, and I was proud for him because it was important to him.
Yeah.
And he loved us little boys. He can stand up.
All right. Caleb, do you have any message for us? Anything else you want to say? She did a good job, didn't she? She did a good job. Oh, sorry. All right. So, Lorenzo, let's tell some of your story. Lorenzo Cook from Kettering, Maryland. Tell us the story of when you applied for a job at a Kmart store in Hyattsville, Maryland. And actually, that's right. Thanks. No. I need people to move the mics and move them close to you, so that people can hear. So what happened? You went. You were applying for a job at a Kmart. You talked to the hiring manager. Things look pretty good.
Things look great.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. Basically, I had the job, went through the interview process. They offered me the job, and I went and gave my, the ID and social security number for tax purposes and everything. And I had to do one thing before I can get the job, was take a drug test.
Take a drug test. This was
Yes.
this was a mandatory policy at that company.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And so what happened when they told you to take the drug test? What did you say?
Well, Let's go back a little bit. During that time, I was actually on dialysis, kidney dialysis, so I was unable to produce urine to do the drug test. So I got the information, the doctor's note, and my medical records. So at the time of the drug testing date, I gave her the information and said, well, my doctor's note basically said that I could take any alternative test besides.
And what are some of the alternatives?
Blood tests, hair follicle tests. Those are the two that I know. Main two that I know. I'm sure there are probably others.
And you explained to the hiring manager that this was something this was an alternative, this is something you wanted to do.
Yes.
And what did they say?
The hiring manager said, okay, she would submit that information to HR, whoever was in charge of providing the accommodation.
And then did you hear back?
I responded, I reached out to her.
You were the one, you were persistent,
Yeah.
You kept calling her, right?
Yes.
And finally, by the way, she was sort of avoiding your calls, I understand, right? Or not calling back?
Not calling back, giving me a quick no answer, saying she hadn't heard back from him, kind of just hoping that I would just kind of go away and stop, asking about it.
And at this point, are you thinking this is easy to do, it's going to get cleared up, I'm going to get this test, or are you thinking that something else is going on?
Well, from my understanding, this is the normal thing with dialysis patients. According to my social worker, that they get the doctor's note and everything, and any company would know that that's a reasonable accommodation, and that's what they usually do.
Right.
Offer a blood test, and they end up with a job, that they were given.
And eventually, you did talk to the hiring manager, and what did she say? She basically said that it wasn't going to work.
Her exact words was, "It was not going to work. Not going to happen."
It's not going to happen.
Yes.
And did she explain why?
No.
And when she said it's not going to happen, did you feel that you just faced discrimination?
Yes. Yes, I did.
And how did you know what to do? How did you find the EEOC, or how did they find you?
Well, I was in communication with my social worker even before this particular job, because I let her know that I wanted to start back working. So I previously asked questions about what does a dialysis patient need to do when they're faced with this problem. So I'd already known, what I needed to do. And from my understanding, it wasn't a problem. I mean, she'd done that, prior to that a number of times for the patients.
This was a social worker. This is a state vocational program.
No, well, this was the social worker for the dialysis
for
patients.
the dialysis clinic.
Yes.
Okay. But it was the social worker who told you to contact the EEOC?
Well, she gave me the information because we both felt that it was discrimination. I just didn't know how to go about filing anything with it.
And how about you? At that point, did you know what the ADA was?
Not at that time.
Do you remember when you first heard that there was this law that protected you from discrimination
Yes.
as a person with a disability?
Yes, after my social worker gave me the information to read, and it was a couple pages of info that let me know that it was in fact discrimination.
And what are you thinking? You're thinking that this applies to me?
Definitely.
And so the EEOC gets involved, and pretty quickly Kmart offers you some kind of settlement?
Yeah, they offered me about $500 to kind of forget about it.
$500.
Yes.
And what was your answer to that?
No, thank you.
In the end, the lawsuit came, and you ended up changing Kmart's policy for the entire country, right?
Yes.
For how they do things. What was the talk about that part of the settlement? How they had to change the way they do hiring?
Well, first of all, they had to train the management and give them classes on what to do in situations like that, where someone needs an accommodation, whether it's the same situation as mine or another situation. They had to post the in most jobs you'll see the EEOC laws and things like that
Yeah.
on the in the office or whatever, which it wasn't posted. They didn't have anything posted, so the potential employees can view it.
So, and you didn't end up going to work at Kmart, right? You went.
No, I did not.
You went. So tell me where you ended up working.
Well, actually, after about a month after I was denied employment at Kmart, I got a job at AutoZone.
At AutoZone. So
Yes.
very quickly, you found another job.
Yes.
And that's you've been there ever since, right?
Ever since, yes.
So about 5 years. So Kmart lost out on a good employee, and AutoZone got one.
Yes, they did.
And talk a little bit about your health today. Are you still on dialysis?
No, actually, on my birthday of that year, of 2010, I received a kidney transplant.
All right. That's great. All right. Vicki Lowen of Great Falls, Virginia. I want to go talk to you next. Let's see where I can stand between the cart and the interpreters and not block everyone. All right, Vicki, I'm going to try over here. All right.
Great.
So Vicki, thank you for being here. So let's talk about the situation you faced. You faced a situation that all of us here who are parents just dread. On September 30th, 2010, your son had a medical emergency, and you rushed him to the hospital. You're deaf. You needed to communicate with his doctors, his medical staff. Tell us what happened that night.
It so happened that on September 30th, we were at home. My son began to scream out in extreme pain. I mean, he was going crazy from it, and he couldn't control the amount of pain he was in. At that time, I decided to call for emergency care. We called 911. Several officers came to my home. As they were trying to calm him down and make him comfortable, they finally were able to give him some time. We didn't want to immediately rush him off to the hospital because he is an adult. I believe he was 18 or 19, at that time. We wanted to build some trust between the officers that were helping him and myself and him. So we ended up taking him to Woodburn, or the Falls Church area in Virginia. There was a hospital nearby. He was evaluated, and he explained some thoughts that he was having. At that time, we weren't really aware, because there wasn't communication happening, what exactly he was telling the doctor. He ended up getting transferred to a hospital that was Dominion Hospital. I went with him, and I remember the time being somewhere around maybe 8 o'clock. After he was transferred to that new hospital, it was around 11:20. We were still in the emergency room at that time, the new place. Upon entering, of course, we had to fill out certain forms, as any parent does. And I couldn't quite focus. My son was in a lot of pain, and he was asking for a lot of help, and he wasn't sure which medical questions he knew what to answer. So I was assisting him with that, and I requested interpreting services for myself. I remember there was somebody on the phone trying to secure an interpreter, and as I was writing back and forth with them, they took my paper away. So I happened to, thankfully, have an envelope where I had some other papers with me, and I started writing back and forth using that, asking, where's the interpreter? I need someone to communicate with an interpreter so that we can get them there. And I was dismissed. I mean, they really said that they weren't going to provide an interpreter. I said, well, that means I'm going to contact the DOJ. I mean, you need to have somebody who's available. You need to have a plan for this. And they said, no, you can't bring the medication bottles in. You have to write it down. And they wouldn't listen to me. My son was taken away and taken back into the building. The door was closed in my face. And all I could do was worry. The next day, of course, I was just fraught with worry about my son. Every time I called the hospital, they hung up the phone on me. I was going crazy. It was an awful experience and so scary for me.
So here you are, you're the person who needs to advocate for your son. You didn't have effective communication. I think about this, I see Senator Harkin in the front row when he was drafting the ADA, he was thinking of his own experience with his brother in a hospital who was deaf, who had trouble making his wishes known to the hospital staff. I mean, this is something that was helped propel the ADA, right? And but here you are. Your son needed you to be his advocate, right? Did he have anyone else to? He needed you as his advocate, right?
Well, he has a sister, and I'm so thankful that he also has a godmother who's on his side, being there as a support system for him. But when I'm at work, I can't make calls for him to be able to advocate on his behalf. It's difficult. So he has a support system, and his godmother and he became very close as a result.
But because of his health condition, he wasn't really able to be a good advocate for himself. Right.
No. Okay. He couldn't. I mean, looking at his situation, I also couldn't even realize at that time. Later, I found out that he was suffering from substance abuse problems. So that's why he couldn't communicate effectively. So, but of course, it's a hen and an egg situation. I don't know which came first.
Right.
Later on, he did admit that he was suffering from substance abuse for over a year. He was addicted.
So after this very scary night, your son stayed in the hospital. And when you went back during visiting hours, did you ask for a sign language interpreter? Did you have a sign language interpreter?
Yes, absolutely. I remember the night at the emergency room, I clearly asked for an interpreter. I need to know what the visiting hours are every day, and so I have an interpreter available to me. And I showed up expecting that there would be one. When there wasn't, I was asking them all kinds of questions by writing back and forth. How do I know what medication he's on? How do I know what the risks are? How do I know that he's been given power of authorization that he's been given to me? I mean, he's signing papers he doesn't even read because he's not really capable. He's not competent at that moment. But I know all of his medical history. I'm a resource. Why aren't they talking to me? Because they need an interpreter. I mean, I would visit every day, and there were no interpreters. After about a month or two, I remember at that time learning which medication he was on. There was lopranozole, which a specific one was prescribed for his esophagitis and gastritis. The doctor at the hospital that prescribed it was saying that it was actually because he was having mental delusions, some kind of psychosis. So obviously there were some huge miscommunications about his care because they were also giving him Ativan, which is highly addictive. And the other hospital had warned me not to use Ativan because of the risk of substance abuse. So between those two, there was also another one. We called it interventionist, and it was from a rehab facility in Florida, asking them to reach out to him and have a private conversation. My son had not told me about his 1-year struggle with substance abuse, but the interventionist, after having spoken with him, was able to tell me the full story. They said that it's a chance that he'll fail, but 90% of the time is good odds. So they were able to meet with the doctor. We flew the interventionist in from Florida. He explained everything, and the doctor completely refused treatment. He said it was a mental issue, not a substance abuse issue. End of story. I was stymied. And then at that time, I remember we were explaining about, they said once he has finished detoxing from the medication, he needs to get sober first before he can have a full mental evaluation. So I don't know why there was some huge miscommunication, which is what happens when you don't have equal communication.
At one point, I understand the hospital told your son to interpret for you. Was he in, at that point, any condition to interpret?
They did. It was a horrendous experience. Up until now, they had been telling me that there was no way to provide an interpreter. But I think the very last time, they said they secured one, but they didn't show up. So we ended up going to this discharge meeting, and they told my son to interpret for me. He's the patient. It was insane that they were asking him to be able to put in that position and understand. He got so upset. I remember that he got very disgusted with me, started making accusations, saying that because I was trying to find him secure treatment, that I was a bad mother. And the doctor was yelling at me as well because of all the miscommunications. He shouldn't have been interpreting at that time. He was not well.
Right, and so, Vicki, I was looking at the Department of Justice website about some of the settlements through the Barrier-Free Healthcare Initiative, which is an effort by the U.S. attorneys to make sure that people with disabilities have full access to medical care, because we know that's a problem. We know that people with disabilities often are less likely to get basic health care, physical exams, MRIs, because equipment isn't accessible, or there are these sort of attitudinal things that people run into. There are a lot of cases I noticed involving people with HIV, denied a flu shot, denied dental care, denied access to substance abuse treatment. Also, a lot of these cases involve people who are deaf. There was another case in this area in Virginia, a family, a child was born with a medical emergency, needs emergency heart surgery. The parents are deaf. No sign language interpreters are provided. So what we're learning today from you is that we're talking about life and death situations often. These are complex care. You
Absolutely.
need the best interpretation service that you can get.
It's completely true. Written communication is not sufficient. People are too busy to write down full instructions when you're trying to rely on pen and paper, and they're not helpful in that situation.
Right. And we should say that because of your suit, there has been some change at Dominion Hospital. There was an agreement, and they now have a form that somebody, if you ever have to go back there again, or another person who is deaf, they can fill out a form that specifically shows the kind of interpretation services they need, right? So you made some change. You made some change out of this. All right.
Yes, that's true. There is now a form. But the hospital does not know our needs. That's the biggest part. Whether they be someone who reads lips, someone who is able to provide sign language interpretation or captioning. We need to give people the right to choose, to fit their needs, to accommodate them. When we have hospitals choosing for them, that's where we have problems. You wouldn't have someone pick your glasses for you. It's the same idea. Hospitals needs to honor the requests of the patients that come in.
Great, thank you. All right, now I want Sean Riley to tell his story. Sean is from Vancouver, Washington. And Sean, you won a historic discrimination suit. It's important because it was one of the first to affirm that companies have a responsibility to make simple accommodations for employees who have significant psychiatric disabilities like bipolar disorder, right? So let's talk about the job that you found at the cash store in Walla Walla, Washington. And what was your first job? When did you go there, and what was your first job there?
Well, a little pre-story. Prior to getting the job at the cash store in Walla Walla, I was going to college at the University of Portland for 4 years, during which time I was hospitalized a couple times and diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And I left the University of Portland in 2006, and I went to live with my sister in Walla Walla. You know, I was a little bit shaken after having to leave the University of Portland due to academic performance after I'd initially attended on a presidential scholarship for academics. Even though I lacked a little bit of self-confidence, I realized that I had to work to support myself, and so I applied for jobs in the community and got the job at the cash store as a payday advance loan officer giving out short-term loans.
And so you started that job in June of 2006, and you must have done well because you got promoted pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, I was hired, and actually within 2 weeks of me being hired as the assistant store manager, the woman who was the store manager at the time, she got promoted to a position in the Seattle area. And so actually I worked for about 5 or 6 months with the title of assistant store manager, but I was the only employee at that location until eventually you know, I inquired about the possibility of getting the position of manager. And after about 7 months in November, I was awarded a plaque for outstanding store achievement for my accomplishments, and I got to choose an award out of a award catalog that they gave me.
So you take the job, you're assistant manager, you become manager, you win this company-wide award for the good performance of your store. So you're having a lot of success there. By the way, had you told your bosses about your diagnosis?
Yeah, you know, I was diagnosed in 2004 with bipolar disorder, and both of my parents were long-term federal employees. My dad worked for the Forest Service, my mom for the Corps of Engineers. And so they were aware of the protections of people with disabilities under the ADA. And my dad advised me, you know, to notify my employer early on, just in case, you know, as a protective measure. So it wouldn't come as a surprise if I needed time off for any issues, whether it's a major issue or just to see the doctor. And so my employer was aware within the first 2 weeks of my employment that I had bipolar disorder. She shared with me that she once had a boyfriend who had bipolar disorder, and he was all right as long as he took his medication. So I felt comfortable that she somewhat understood my condition.
So then in January of 2007, you've already been promoted and won this award. You do have a situation where you did need to ask for some time off. So talk about what happened then.
Well, I'll go back just a little bit before directly answering the question. You know, after being diagnosed in 2004, I was put on psychotropic medications while I was at the University of Portland. And I was on 3 for a period of 2 years while I was there, from 2004 to 2006. But these medications, they had a lot of side effects. And, you know, I graduated high school at 175 pounds. And then within a year of my initial diagnosis and being put on these medications, I was up to 245 pounds, and I was feeling lethargic. I couldn't concentrate in school. So, you know, around October of 2006, while I was working at the cash store, I started to think to myself, you know, that, you know, as a personal conclusion, that I think perhaps the side effects of these medications are outweighing the potential, you know, benefits that the doctors are saying they're doing for me. And so, like a lot of people, you know, who are diagnosed with mental conditions, I was a little bit hesitant to agree, and so I thought maybe I would stop my medication. And so in October I stopped, and I was fine initially, but gradually over time my mental equilibrium shifted toward mania, which is one of the poles of bipolar. There's depression and mania. And so, yeah, in January my family became aware that, you know, based on what happened in the past, that I was experiencing a manic episode, and they wanted to intervene.
So they wanted to intervene, and basically you asked your bosses for, you needed a few days off, several days off to get things going again, to try new medication, right? So basically you talk about the accommodation you asked for that day.
Yeah, you know, so my parents being federal employees, kind of knowledgeable on the laws, I had an advance directive already in place from the time I was in Portland still, which declared both my parents as my agents for declaration of mental health treatment to act on my behalf if I was deemed incapable of making decisions myself. So shows that I trusted my parents. And so, you know, when my family became aware, my mom traveled from Idaho, where she was living at the time, to Walla Walla, and we arranged that I would go in on that Monday morning prior to business hours to have less of an impact on the business. I went and I called my manager, and initially, you know, I told her that I was sick, I wouldn't be able to work that day. My request, you know, was met unfavorably, and I had to request actually 3 times during the phone call before she agreed to come relieve me. So I traveled, she traveled over and relieved me, and I went to see the doctor. My mom, you know, took me to see the doctor. And, you know, while I was in the doctor, my mom got a telephone call, you know, and she'd already told my manager at the time she arrived that, you know, the issue I was having was related to bipolar and that I need to get in to see the doctor. While I was in seeing the doctor, she got the phone call, and my manager was asking basically, you know, so you know when Sean is going to be able to come back to work. And she said, you know, he's still in seeing the doctor, but in the past, you know, when he's had an issue like this, it's taken about a week or, you know, maybe closer to 2 weeks before the medications take effect and he's back to equilibrium, you know, back to normal. And so he's probably going to need about a week or 2 off. And, you know, just like Lorenzo, the statement from the manager was, that's not going to happen. I can find someone to cover for Sean on Tuesday, but after that, and she left it kind of open, insinuating that it would be a negative result, you know. So anyway, that evening, my mom shared with me, you know, what my manager had said, and even though I wasn't well, you know, I still came to the conclusion that, hey, I got to go back or else I'm going to get canned. That's what I told my mom, and so, you know, we felt a little bit intimidated, a little bit pressured, and basically the manager failed to engage in any interactive process to arrange a reasonable accommodation. So I went back to work, and all the feedback I received after returning back to work about my performance was positive, but then less than 2 weeks after returning, they terminated me and gave me the reason for not following company policy and procedures.
So things were never the same after you when you went back.
Well, it was, you mean after leaving for those 2 days and then returning back to work? Well, like I said, you know, I was the only employee in the store, so there was nobody there with me, actually, but the indications from telephone calls from my district manager, regional manager, nobody had anything negative to say. There was no indication that they had any.
And then your case went to trial, and the judge seemed impressed by what you had done in your life to manage your disability and be successful at work. Talk about what you think came out of the settlement, or the victory in court.
Well, I think for me personally, you know, like I was talking about with my experience in University of Portland, it kind of set me back. I thought, hey, I can't succeed at school. And then after trying employment and having this occur, then I kind of thought to myself, hey, I guess I can't even succeed at work. And so at that time, you know, I applied for SSI and, you know, I eventually got denied. But for about a year, I was, you know, pretty depressed and I had to recover from everything. But, you know, since then in my personal life, I went back to school. I graduated from Washington State University in 2010 with a bachelor's degree. In March of 2013, I met my current wife now, and we have 2 children. And but in the bigger scheme of things, I think, you know, in terms of the laws and the ADA, mental illness, perhaps even more so than other disabilities, it's, something that you can't see and you can't put your finger on. And so, you may know somebody, or maybe not now, maybe in the future, something might happen and someone you know might suffer from a mental illness. And so I think what's occurred as a result of, my efforts going to trial, I think that's, for me, it wasn't about any sort of award for me. It was about, ensuring that everything that I went through doesn't happen to other people, and so that better people can better understand mental illness, because, hey, if I would have just had a week off, I probably would have went back to work, and, things, who knows what would have happened, but at least I wouldn't have had to go through the depression and everything of getting fired after that.
Sean, thank you for sharing that story. All right. I'm going to start with you. All right. So Randall Hurst from Lubbock, Texas.
Yes, sir.
So tell me a little bit about you know the car business. You've had a long history of success in the car business?
Yes, sir. After getting out of the military and after Desert Storm 91, my mom said, hey, we knew a guy that's in the car business, and I started selling cars, believe it or not. And my high school album actually says Future Car Guy, and I was really mad about that because no one in my family was a car guy. I didn't see myself being a used car guy, but yes, sir. I started in 91 and worked my way up. General manager of Group 1, which is a public traded company. Had over 100 employees at one time. We've had 2 car dealerships that we owned ourselves at one time. And so just something I enjoy. I enjoy the car business.
Good. And so in 2010, another company came to you and they asked you to work for them to set up a dealership. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, sir. I was a general sales manager at the time at a Chevrolet Dodge store. And they called me and asked me if I would open up a new store for them in Lubbock, Texas. And I said, well, thank you for calling me, and I really appreciate the offer, but no thank you unless you make me a partner. And that's the only way I would consider it. And he said, well, I don't see that happening at this time. And I said, well, thank you so much for calling me, but I'll keep it in mind, but I'm happy where I'm at.
She's okay. Okay, I switched sides here so that I can get out of the way. Okay. So anyway, so you started this dealership, by the way, and can you say, so it was going well, right? You were making some good money for these people.
Well, he called me back. They finished the story a few hours later and said, hey, yeah, we'll make you a partner if you meet with us. Make a long story short, I met with him over dinner. We picked out a location. I started the dealership for him. And not being arrogant, we made a lot of money. Yes, sir. I had a team of people with me. My finance manager, my used car managers, had a group of people that came along with me. And, if you enjoy something, I think usually you do pretty good at it. To me, it wasn't a job. It was something I really enjoyed.
So you had a loyal team of people who worked for you and they followed you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So was it fun at first?
Yeah. To me, it was fun. I mean, some of y'all guys are like, well, that's a weird job. But, to me, it was fun, You put the balloons out there and a guy in a clown suit and create activity. Activity creates business, I can tell you some stories about car guys, but that's another story.
I don't know. Maybe we do want to hear those. I don't know.
It's all good. But, it was very, very, very successful. It was, I tripled, quadrupled what they expected the first year, and just everything was going great.
Great. So, and then something changed?
Something did change. I've been feeling, things in my body would come and go, and tingling numbs in my hands and my feet. Throughout the years, I would call peaks and valleys. And I didn't know for sure what it was. We've been going to the doctor and physicians, and they didn't know what it was for years. But, it did not affect my work performance. To me, that's business. It's the bottom line. And I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I felt after discussion, talking to my wife, she's out there, my 2 girls. But after discussing it with my wife and my kids, and I felt very confident in myself. And maybe it's just too much being arrogance of a used car guy, I'm sorry. But I felt confident of telling the boss that, hey, I do have multiple sclerosis. Here's a slip from my doctor. I don't see this affecting my performance here. And I think I can still keep doing a great job. Just in case something happens, I just want you to know about it. That's all.
And what happened? What was the reaction?
You know, at first I thought it was more sincerity. They were very nice at first. Later that afternoon, he went back to the home dealership, what I call the home, you know, because it's like the base, the mother car dealership about 30 miles away. My phone started ringing off the hook. He went and had a meeting with all the managers and told everybody about my illness.
Had you told him in confidence? Was this, you were just informing him? You didn't expect him to tell other people?
I didn't know. Of course not. I didn't want everybody to know. So, you know, I had everybody calling me, all the salespeople calling me, all the finance guys, all worried about their jobs now because they're worried about, well, what happens if Randall gets sick? What's going to happen to my job? Because I was their boss. And, you know, and it created a lot of frenzy, unnecessary stress, basically.
All right, and it actually it gets uglier, right?
Oh, it gets a lot uglier. That was in March of 2011. My partnership agreement was supposed to be done in January. He said he's waiting for the accountant to get done. After I told him about that, he said, we're waiting for the figures to get done to find out, because I was supposed to be 20% ownership. He said, well, we're waiting for the CPA to get everything done. April comes. You know, everybody knows you have to file taxes in April. So I'll wait a little bit longer. May comes and says, hey, where's my contract? I need my contract. Oh, we're working on it. Kept going on and on and on. Finally, after drugged out quite a while, he says, what are you complaining about? You know, you're making $200,000 a year of a high school education. Where else are you going to go to do this? I said, what's that have to do with it? I've always made good money because I enjoy what I do. You know, it's not so much the money to me. I just enjoy it. He says, we don't know what your future is going to be like. You have multiple sclerosis. And bottom line is, we can't put all our faith and trust into you because we don't know what your health's going to be like in a few months.
And then harassment started.
Oh, yeah, the harassment started, you know, and that was before that. The harassment would start, you know, I've always seen myself as, you know, not a wimpy guy, maybe a small guy, but not a wimpy guy. But he would always say, hey, you're on your last quarter, buddy. It sucks to be you. Say this out in front of all my sales crew, you know, out on the showroom floor, my finance manager in front of me, my secretary in front of me, and just on and on and on. Why are you limping? And I said, well, you know why I'm limping. Oh, yeah, it sucks to be you. You're on your last quarter, buddy, aren't you? And just on and on and on, you know. And, you know, it just got, after a while, it just got worse and worse, yelling and screaming, hanging up the phone on me. He would take there's other dealerships they would take people to Vegas with and certain perks, play golf with. You know, I never took a day off, worked all the time, and, you know, it just more and more unnecessary stress.
So you get excluded. And by the way, stress, for somebody who has MS, stress is not a good thing, right?
Stress is not a good thing. It made me very, it made me worse. Actually, right. Things that I could not control no more.
I mean, stress isn't good for any of us, but.
No, but when you got a mortgage and 3 kids and, you know, right. It's hard to weigh that out, but stress makes you really sick.
But these bosses, I mean, they're insulting you. They're calling, right? They're calling you names.
Oh, I can't even repeat some of the words in here in public today when I won't, but I've always pictured myself a stand-up guy to treat other people the way I want to be treated. Right. And I just, you know, and to me, I'm a business guy, right. You know, all boils down to numbers. Right.
But we can say it. They said you're a cripple. They said it sucks to be you.
Sucks to be you. You're a cripple. You're on your last quarter. You know, and, you know, of course, they were trying to push me out. And, you know, I finally dawned on me that's what they wanted. They didn't want to give me that 20%. You know, when you make, I mean, you can do the numbers in your head. I'm not going to specifically say, but a lot of money. And because it quadrupled what they thought we were going to do, you know, I don't know why they were pushing me out other than, you know, just because of the MS. And I think maybe they were either greedy and wanted to get someone else in or just harassed me because of the MS, but looking back on it, it was because of multiple sclerosis, and they're scared of the disease. And most people, when you say multiple sclerosis, don't know what really multiple sclerosis means. They maybe think it's contagious or lack of education on it.
Right. And had you heard of the Americans with Disabilities Act?
You know, I've heard of ADA, but I didn't know anything about it. You know, these guys, and how do you say this, in Lubbock, Texas, you know, we call it the Old West out there, or a lot of attorneys would call that the Old West out there. They have a lot of money, and they think they can do whatever they want to do. And I just want to say real quick, God bless the EEOC. These guys were great.
And how did you find out that what happened to you was discrimination?
Well, at the very end, I just, talked to my wife about it, and, sorry, emotional for a second. Talked to my wife about it, and we went to talk to my attorney because I was, hey, I had to change something. So I was going to open up another business, do something different, and Charles Monster from Lubbock, Texas, was our attorney, and he says, well, what's going on, Randall? Why are you leaving such a lucrative job? Well, I explained the whole situation what I just did to y'all. He said, they can't do that. I said, well, they are. And so he wrote up a resignation letter for me stating why I was getting pushed out. And the EEOC called me. They submitted to EEOC, to Davika and Toby and Dallas Regional Office. And, they drilled me and drilled me again. And I said, guys, I'm telling the truth. This is what's going on. He said, we know you are. And it was a blessing. I'll tell you what, I can't thank y'all enough.
All right, and we should say that one of the biggest barriers that still exist are these attitudinal barriers.
Yes, sir.
That people face. And when your settlement was announced, I saw the EEOC attorney said that the managers had unfairly decided that you couldn't do the job that you've done so well, and that it's just it's exactly the myths, the fears, and the stereotypes of people with disabilities that the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed to end. So thank you for telling your story.
Thank you.
10 minutes? Okay. All right, so now I want to end on the love story. We have our love story, our couple, Peter and Lori Maxmean, and from Rhode Island, from Riverside, Rhode Island, right? So, Lori, tell me the story. How did you meet this guy?
Well, I can put up there. Okay. Good morning. Hi, everybody. Okay, I worked at Train to Placement. That's like a sheltered workshop that it was supposed to help us go out and get a job. I worked there, I don't know how long, but okay, I was working, he came in, and I said to myself, I'm gonna marry that guy and that's gonna be my soulmate. And I did.
All right.
How I met him, how we started going out is, I was going out with this guy and he was going out with this skinny girl. I have to tell the truth. And, well, let's just put it this way. I don't know if they've seen that show, We Swap. So, because she broke up with him and I knew right off the bat that was my thing and I grabbed him as I could.
All right. All right, Peter. So you tell the story about meeting Lori. You're from your side.
Yeah, it was about 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
2009, I came in, and as she already put it, who I dated before. And we were just doing the Cox cable remotes that they have you do, and we started becoming best friends, and within maybe I would say about a month, maybe. A month in, she asked me out at a Quiznos, and I said, yeah, I'll give her a chance. And 6 years later, and almost on 1 year of marriage, so.
All right, congratulations. And so what was the work that they had you doing at the sheltered workshop?
They had us doing like piecework.
Doing what? What meaning?
How do I explain it? Sometimes they do like, they have us like make boxes.
Uh-huh.
And then put the products from like either CVS or different companies that they have contracts with into the boxes and then wrap them up and then they had us do the remotes, putting them together.
Remotes like for television remote control.
You know, like for Cox cable.
Uh-huh.
and we put the batteries in there. We put them. We package basically it's like an assembly line. We basically pack all the different work.
Was it besides getting to hang out with Lori? Was it a job you enjoyed?
Well, what do you think? That's the only reason why I went there.
Okay.
We're not getting paid good money, right?
Right, it wasn't for the money. Okay, well that's right. So let's talk about that. So Lori, I read that you were making an average of about $1.57 an hour. I mean, you did this was sort of a dating service, but I guess that's what jobs are. But $1.57 an hour, so that wasn't very much. The minimum wage back then was $7.25, right?
Yep.
Now. You both have new jobs, right? Well, we should talk about the fact that the Justice Department went to the state of Rhode Island and made this application, this expanding the way we look at the Olmsted decision, and said that the state had failed to provide the most integrated and appropriate day and activity work setting for people like you. That you could be doing other work and where you could be paid a minimum wage. And there was this landmark consent decree in January of 2014 that required the state to provide, to help find better work in the community, better training for 2,000 people, including the two of you. And now both of you do have different jobs, right? You're out of the shelter workshop. You're not making $1.57 anymore an hour?
No way. My last pay, well, I work at P.F. Chang's at Providence Mall. I love it, that job. I brought home $435. So I am very happy. On a week, I'm very happy.
So what was your paycheck when you came home from the shelter workshop? How much would you bring home?
Well, I did a lot of different things here. Sometimes I would bring home like 100 or 200. Okay. It depends.
Okay. Was that for the week or for a month?
No, that was every other week.
Every other week. Okay. So but never $435.
No way.
All right.
I tried, no.
All right. And Peter, you have a new job too.
Thank you. Everything's heavy. Yeah. Now I work for the state of Rhode Island as a seasonal janitor, and like you said, I was making probably around the same as she was making at TTP, and now I can probably say that I make $15.40 an hour. And
so the fact that you are making more money, did that change your life?
well, I was able to get married.
So the shelter workshops are good at introducing you, but not for getting married. So you need the better money to get married. All right. So when you say you were able to get married, the money what paid for?
Paid for the like the wedding, like the dress, her beautiful dress.
Yeah.
My wonderful white tux. I'm sure everybody's seen it on YouTube and the New York Times website.
All right. So let's put in a plug then for the New York Times, a great newspaper, did a story about the two of you. Dan Barry, a terrific reporter there, and they also did a video. So you should find this video online, right? We want to get the viewership up.
Yeah, pretty much all you have to do is just look for Lori and Peter's wedding. It's right there, first thing that comes up.
And it is the story of your wedding, and there's a great scene where you go to the store to get balloons, right? Party City to get balloons for the wedding, but there's a problem when you get to the car, you realize
they don't quite fit in my car.
Yeah. By the way, let's point out. By the way, the car is something that you did with this money you've earned, right? You bought a car for your first car,
yes.
Right? And that's a big deal for you. What does it mean to have a car?
It means more independence. After having to take the city bus for 16 years, and now I'm able to drive.
All right. So there you go. So there's something that you've done with this money. And then when we had the wedding, and so you go to Party City, you get how many balloons? How many did you get?
24, I think, or 27.
24 big white silver balloons, and they don't fit in the back of your car, right?
That's because I was holding them, and I told them I could hold them, and some of them all flew away. But that's a funny ass.
I lost all the balloons, all except for like 4.
So Lori's holding them out the window. As the car takes off, Now, you know, people with disabilities are very good at coming up with solutions to things, right? So you couldn't fit him in the car, and you said, all right, we'll hold on, right? And Peter, don't drive too fast.
And I wasn't even going the speed limit, and they still flew away.
They still flew away, but you still had some of the balloons, right?
Yeah, about 4.
All right, but you know, right? But life isn't perfect, and we have to make accommodations, and that's what you did, and you had a great wedding, right? So, and talk a little bit more about your life. So you have your own apartment now?
Yep. Well, I've lived there for about almost going on 6 years, and she's been with me in there about maybe 4. Actually close to it, somewhere around there. Yep. So we have our own apartment. We pretty much do everything ourselves independently. Mm-hmm. I mean, with a little help of a program that I'm with, but we focus.
And are you learning things on your job? Are the jobs fun? They're interesting?
So I can't comment on that
Okay.
one, but
All right. You're a pro at this. All right. And you know what? Not every job is good. But if you wanted to go find another job, could you find it?
yeah.
Okay.
I think so. But
right.
I do love my job, though.
Oh, you do. All right. All right. Well, there's something different. All right. Thank you. That's a great story. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you. This panel, you guys have been terrific, and thanks. You shared important stories, and you told them so well. We appreciate it.
Thank you all so much for sharing those stories, and thank you to the people who worked with these folks on their stories. You can exit the stage if you like, or unless you'd like us to stare at you a little bit longer. But thank you. We are very grateful. Now, I am incredibly honored and thrilled to introduce Senator Tom Harkin. I'm Eve Hill, at the Deputy Assistant Attorney General in the Civil Rights Division that works a great deal on disability rights. It is the love of my heart. But Senator Harkin, who you've heard a lot about today, so I feel like I don't have that much to add, but throughout his 40 years of service in the U.S. Congress, Senator Harkin has been a leading advocate and tireless champion for people with disabilities. The ADA is Senator Harkin's signature legislative achievement. 25 years ago, Senator Harkin historically spoke in sign language on the Senate floor in support of passage of the ADA. And he said, "Today we say no to fear. We say no to ignorance, and we say no to prejudice." Senator Harkin didn't stop advancing the rights, advocating the rights of people with disabilities with the passage of the ADA. He authored many bills that advanced the goals of the ADA in all aspects of American life. And I got to watch Senator Harkin's ADA floor speech the other day, thanks to YouTube. He noted that all across the country that day, mothers were giving birth to babies with disabilities. And he dedicated the ADA to that next generation of children with disabilities and their parents. He said, "With the passage of the ADA, we as a society make a pledge that every child with a disability will have the opportunity to maximize his or her potential, to live proud, productive, and prosperous lives in the mainstream of our society. We love you and we welcome you into the world. We look forward to becoming your friends, your neighbors, and your co-workers. We say, whatever you decide is your goal, go for it. The doors are open and the barriers are coming down." 25 years later, those babies have become proud, capable, successful adults who are going for it. And I think I can safely say to Senator Harkin, we love you and thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. I know one way. If I just said one thing, I know I would endear myself to just about everybody in this room. Take a break and go to the bathroom. No, but let's hold on for a couple of minutes. Anyway, Eve, thank you very much for that very kind and overly generous introduction. Joe Shapiro, that panel, they're just wonderful. I mean, just what they said, just perfect. I want to thank Attorney General Lynch, our Deputy Attorney General Gupta, our EEOC Commissioner Hy Feldblum, who I've often said was our legal guru of the ADA and continues in that capacity at EEOC. Rebecca Bond, the chief of our disability rights section here, and of course I want to mention Katie Wolf from Iowa, who is a special counsel on that section. And to Steve Dettelbach, I don't know if he's still here, if he left, but he married one of my great staff persons, Carol, and whisked her off to Ohio. I've still never forgiven him for that, but maybe one of these days. David Capozzi, chair of the Access Board, but I always think of him as being head of PVA when we're doing all of our work. And of course, Liz Savage, it hasn't been mentioned, she pulled all this together today. Where is Liz? Where is Liz? Oh, there she is, back here, Liz. I got more emails and instructions to go here exactly, be here at this time exactly. Thank you, Liz, for pulling this all together. I was kind of happy that Dole said that he had never been here before. Well, I hadn't either. This is my first time. In 40 years here, this is the first time I've been here in this hall, but I got to tell you, coming in here and looked up here, I said, this looks familiar. I remember now that Attorney General Ashcroft, he put a cloak over this statue. I got to thinking about that. Cloak's gone. I got to thinking about that. Thought, what's the connection with that and the Americans with Disabilities Act? And it occurred to me, 25 years ago, people with disabilities said, no more do we want to be covered up with a cloak. No more. No more do we want to be covered with a cloak of pity and patronizing laws and attitudes. 25 years ago, we removed the dark cloak of intolerance and discrimination and prejudice and fear. And in the words of George Herbert Walker Bush, we let the shameful walls of exclusion come tumbling down. Now, Hy Feldblum mentioned that the troops are all here. A lot of the troops are here. Some are missing. Some didn't make it this far. I think, of course, of Ed Roberts and so many others. But troops are here, and that reminds me of one of my favorite Will Rogers stories. Will Rogers, it was after World War I, and there was a parade down Pennsylvania Avenue to honor the doughboys, the soldiers from World War I. The armistice had been in November, but it took that long for them to come back. So it was in July, for one of these hot, muggy days in Washington. They had the troops marching down Pennsylvania Avenue with their uniforms on and their bandoliers and their rifles and their helmets. And they were fainting, and it was so hot. Sitting up in the stands were all of the generals and the admirals and the politicians. Will Rogers observed this. And he said, you know, it seems to me that if they really want to honor the troops, they let the troops sit in the stands and make the generals and the admirals and the politicians march by. Well, that's just my way of saying that so many of us, whether it's Dole or Steny Hoyer or me or whoever it might be, we get all the applause and stuff like that. But don't you ever think for a moment that I don't know who did all the work. All of you who are out on the front lines, who just struggled so hard to bring this to a reality. If I can put it in military terms, I think of our two great generals. Well, I'd say three great generals. Justin Dart. I liken him to Eisenhower. The great leader, motivational, bring people together. Then we had Pat Wright. She was our General Patton. Out there all the time. Arlene Marison was her cohort. She was General Montgomery, opening another front on the West Coast. And then Bobby Silverstein and Melissa Shulman were the strategists behind the scenes, dialing up everything and getting everything ready. And there's one person that hasn't been mentioned yet. And I love this guy. He's caused me a lot of problems in the past, and he's caused a lot of discomfort among a lot of non-disabled people. But I'll tell you, Bob Kafka has done more for this movement than anybody else. I was in Chicago for the parade this Saturday, and I went down to there's a history museum, Chicago History Museum, and they have one floor, they have Tom Olin's photographs. You all know who Tom Olin was. Tom Olin has been taking pictures of the disability rights movement since 1985, so they have a lot of his pictures there. And a lot of them are of ADAPT people in handcuffs. Being let off to jail, or lying under the wheels of a Greyhound bus. I told Bob this spring when I was here with one of the marches here with Kafka, I said, Bob, you know, one of the great regrets in my life, I've done a lot of things, but one of my great regrets is I've never been arrested. You know what he said? Stick with me, Harkin, I'll get you arrested. Don't worry about it. I asked him how many times he'd been arrested, and he said he lost count a long time ago. But that one picture, I'll never forget this. Bobby, one morning, I got a call from Kafka. And he said, you know, they'd been blocking traffic, and they'd been up around Jesse Helms's office, and they'd been handcuffing and chains. They blocked all the traffic one afternoon on Constitution. That was wonderful. I went out and watched this. They brought the paddy wagons after they had to cut the chains, and they couldn't even get them in a paddy wagon, and so he'd have people say, see, you can't even arrest us properly. You don't have accessible paddy wagons. So Kafka called one morning, he says, I'm going to help you get that. And we were kind of stuck on this bill, we didn't know if we could get it on the floor. And so he called, he said, Senator, we're going to help you today. We're going to help you. Watch the news tonight. That's all he said. I thought, oh my God, what's he going to do now? So I just thought about it. I was over in the Capitol. And Bobby, you remember, we had a little office over there. And so what Kafka did, he was, Bob was a smart guy, clever. He called all the press and the cameras and stuff and said there's going to be this huge, major demonstration at the Capitol that day. Hundreds of people with disabilities going to be there, and you ought to come and see this. It's going to be the biggest thing you've ever seen. This is what he's telling all the press and stuff. So later today, Bobby comes to see me. Bobby Silverstein says, hey, you got to come out. You got to see this. You got to come out here and see this. So we were over to the Senate side. We walked outside, and I looked over. And what Kafka had done, I think he had, 10 or 12 people in wheelchairs. That's all. So all the press is there thinking there are going to be hundreds of people. There were like 10 or 12 people there. And on a proper count, they wheeled their wheelchairs up to the Capitol steps. They fell out of their wheelchairs and crawled up the Capitol steps. And that was on the evening news all over the country, front pages of newspapers and stuff. And I marked that as the point in time where senators said, we don't want to stop this bill. I still remember that. And that picture is one of the great pictures that's in that history museum. But again, it took a lot of people, but just that one thing that happened that one day, I think just sort of kind of gave that last nudge that we needed to get it over there. Now, Dole and Hoyer mentioned so many people, and I'm not going to do that, but there's always somebody that's missed. I thought there was one person that was missed, John McCain. John McCain was in there from the very beginning, and he was one who worked on the telecommunications part of the ADA. And he has been with us ever since when we did the ADA Act amendments in 2008, and he was one of the great leaders and supporters of getting the CRPD done. And I don't care what Donald Trump says, John McCain is still a hero in my book. We had to do a check. How many of Trump's places are fully accessible? Let's check on that, okay, folks? So we've made progress over the last 25 years. Everything from curb cuts to ramps to widened doors, accessible buses and subways and trains. Oh, I might mention one thing here also. If you go to London today, every taxi cab is fully accessible, every one. Why not here? Why not in America? And, but we're making some progress. City Council of New York, they decided by 2020, 50% of all their yellow cabs will be fully accessible. I think Pittsburgh's doing some, Philadelphia, Chicago. They're making some progress. They're making some headway. But I will say this, if that company, Uber, if that company that's coming in there now and taking over, fine, I don't mind the private sector, but if they're going to use our streets and our roads and our highways and the internet and everything else, they have to comply with ADA also. So we have street lights that talk to you. I just had this experience. I was in San Diego, and I was walking someplace. I was out there to give a speech, and I was going and stoplight, and it was talking. And, you know, I didn't see any traffic coming. I figured I'd just go ahead and walk. And the light says, you must wait until the countdown is, you've got 10 more seconds, and 9 and 8, and then it says, okay, now you can go. That was pretty interesting. Video relays, better services for all kids, not only with physical disabilities, but kids with intellectual and developmental disabilities, such as autism and ADHD and Down syndrome. So we've come a long way, and we have every right to celebrate. But an anniversary is a time to look back, take stock. It's also a time to think about where we need to go. You all know as well as I do the 4 great goals of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Full participation, equal opportunity, independent living, economic self-sufficiency. Well, look at those. I think number 1, full participation, yeah, we've done pretty well. Right. Restaurants are accessible, you can go with your family, theaters are accessible now. I always love to tell the story of Regal Theaters. They have these glasses you can get now, and my hearing is not very good. I stopped going to movies. I couldn't hear. A lot of times people mumble in these movies. No idea what they're saying. And so then Regal has these glasses now. You go in, you put these glasses over your glasses, go in and you can watch all of the dialogue comes right across the bottom of the glasses. To my great delight, I discovered that I was in watching a movie and I got the glasses, big popcorn, big Pepsi, sat down there, and at my age, about halfway through that Pepsi, gotta go. I got up, walking down the aisle, and all of a sudden I realized the dialogue, I could still read everything. It's true. I went all the way out in the men's room, I'm still following the dialogue on the movie. Wow. Yeah, we've done all right in some areas. Equal opportunity, better. Have a ways to go. But we made some changes, I think, in the Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act of last year. Maybe I'll say some more about that, about giving young kids now with disabilities a better start, a challenge. For them to enter competitive integrated employment, not sub-minimum wage employment when they get out of school. To give them, we set aside 15% of VR money to go just for summer jobs and internships and job mentoring, so that these kids then will know that when they get out of school, the default position is not in sub-minimum wage jobs, it's getting a competitive integrated job at full pay, just like you heard here at the table today. So we're doing a little bit better on equal opportunity. The last two still bother me. Now, independent living, I'll admit, we've done better, obviously, in some places, but we still aren't there yet. And we'll never be there until we get rid of the Medicaid bias in Medicaid that puts people in nursing homes. I mean, the next 25 years has got to be those years in which all people with disabilities can live where they want, with whom they want, in the community, with supportive services, so they can truly have independent living. But number 4, that's the thing that sticks in my craw, Bobby. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Well, I think if you look back, we passed the ADA, the first thing we wanted to do was to get the built environment changed as much as possible for mobility and transportation. How could you, if you had jobs, if you couldn't get to the job, what good would that do? Well, wouldn't you know it, about the time that we're making good progress in that, in 1999, that Supreme Court comes down with the Sutton Trilogy, which sort of really messed things up in terms of the rights and responsibility of employers and the rights and responsibilities of people with disabilities. So that really confused things. It took us 8 years. 2008, we got the ADA Act amendments through, and that cleared it up, let the Supreme Court know exactly what we meant. And again, I thank all of you here for sticking together during those 8 years through some pretty tough times and getting that bill through and signed by the second President Bush. So since 2009, we've had a clear pathway on this issue of employment of people with disabilities. But we're not making that good of progress. We need to make better progress in jobs. I was looking at this book here. Where is it here? I was going to hold it up. Oh yeah, the National Disability Institute put out 25 at 25. It's beautiful. It's got so many people with disabilities in all their statements. You go through it. Not everyone, but just about everyone said they looked back and they looked at the future. And what they're talking about? Economic outcomes, jobs, better employment, skills upgrade, on and on and on. That's, to me, is the next 25 years. We've got to do better in employment and in jobs. And so when you hear all these unemployment statistics that, we have 5.5% unemployment, 2 to 3 times that among African Americans and Latinos, maybe 4 times that among young African Americans, we say that's a disgrace, and it is a disgrace. But think about this. Over 60% of adults with disabilities in this country are not in the workforce. Now that is a major disgrace. It's a blot on our national character that many people are not working. So we've just got to do better. We've got to do better. And I just might mention one area that needs special attention now. And Bobby has alerted me to this and others too. Obviously, the big growth in employment opportunity in the future, we know, is going to be in the information and communications technology. Well, okay. So as these companies, both in the internet and within a company in the intranet, as they build their platforms for their technology and their communications, those platforms ought to be built from the design stage up to be fully accessible to every person with a disability. Don't build them like the old factories. We don't need old factories. And this is where I would, again, thank the Department of Justice. And I wanted to just read a couple of things here. Where the heck was, oh yes. Department of Justice, Sam Bagenstos, on behalf of the DOJ. Sam is here? No, Sam. Well, we all love Sam. Sam has been great. Anyway, he said this: as more and more of our social infrastructure is made available on the internet, in some cases exclusively online, access to information and electronic technologies is increasingly becoming the gateway civil rights issues for individuals with disabilities. And further, the DOJ testimony also recognized, quote, we must avoid the travesty that would occur if the doors that are opening to Americans from advancing technologies were closed for individuals with disabilities because we were not vigilant, end quote. So, thank you, Eve Hill, and thank you for all you're doing to be vigilant on this issue and making sure that people with disabilities are accessible, that these things are accessible, and they're part of our future in the technology age. Thank you very much. So, as I said, we got a lot to celebrate. We got a lot to commit ourselves to. I know you've been here a long time. Close with this story. And no, it's not a story of my brother Frank. You've all heard that so many times. It's a story about a young woman by the name of Emily Hillman. Emily Hillman. Emily was born with an intellectual disability, went through school with her IEPs, got out of school, put in a sub-minimum wage job. And as Emily said later, she loved her work, she loved the people she worked with, they were very nice, but she said it was boring. And she didn't feel challenged, she wanted to do something else. So her parents were very supportive. They asked her what she wanted to do, and she said she wanted to open a coffee shop. And we didn't know where that came from because they don't drink a lot of coffee, but they said, okay, well, tell me more about it. And Emily said, well, we live in this town in Iowa. The name of the town is Independence, Iowa. How about that? Independence, Iowa. So they said, okay, so they sent Emily to barista school. I never knew such things existed. But anyway, they sent her to barista school up in Minneapolis. She came back, they went to the bank, they borrowed some money. There was an empty storefront on Main Street, Independence, Iowa. Of course, that's only one street, but that's okay. And they turned it into a coffee shop. Let's see, that's been 5 years ago now, 5 years ago. Emily now employs 5 people, 2 of whom are disabled, 3 non-disabled. She has this wonderful coffee shop, makes lattes and cappuccinos in Independence, Iowa. And she's expanded to ice cream, and people have their own mugs there, and they come in. It's become the community gathering place. You see, Emily has this wonderful personality. She's just bubbly and effervescent, and never forget your name when you come in the door. Think about that. Running her own small business in Independence, Iowa. Try to think about Emily. A lot. I think, when I talk about jobs and information technology, how about more people with disabilities owning and running their own small businesses all over this country? So I need the DOJ to help us put pressure on things like banks, lending agencies, things like that, to make sure that credit is available for small businesses. Well, I use that example as one of so many, that the attitude is what we hope to change in the ADA, where people would no longer see someone and say, that person's disabled. That person is defined by their disability. We're hoping that attitude would change, and so that people would say, well, okay, what can you do? It's like my brother told me once. He said, there's one thing I know I can't do. I can't hear. He said, there are probably other things I can't do, but I don't know, because I haven't tried them all. But I just know I can't hear. So, attitude change. What are your abilities? What do you want to do? What are your dreams? And how do we change the artificial structures of society so that you can follow that dream? That's really what the ADA was all about. It was building not that ladder of opportunity, which a lot couldn't climb, but a ramp. There's not one nickel, not one dime in the ADA that is given to a person with disability. I always said it's not a moving walkway. You still have to exert energy and initiative to get to the top. But I can tell you that every person with a disability that I've worked with in my entire lifetime, that's what they wanted. No more pity, no more patronizing, no more in the shadows. Take down the barriers. Just take down those barriers and let me show you what I can do. That is the American dream for all, called the ADA. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Harkin, for those inspiring words and for all the work that you've done. To everyone else, please just hold on about 2 minutes less. Not really time to get up and walk around and chit-chat while we just push these tables back, and we will start the in memoriam section.